So you want to build a house. Welcome to the podcast by Statera Homes. I'm Scott Daly. I'm here with my co-host, Jackie Kovaleski.
Hey, Scott.
How are you today?
I am peachy.
That's great. Peachy is a good mental posture to be because today we're going to talk about one of the darker parts of the home building business, aren't we?
We sure are.
This is going to be sort of an angry podcast.
I would say it's a bit of a downer.
So if you're in traffic, this is going to make you want to rear end the car in front of you. Don't do that. Fight that urge.
I could see how.
I mean, haven't you ever just wanted to do that?
Oh, yeah.
See, one of the advantages of living here in the Delaware Beach area is we don't sit in a lot of traffic.
You know what makes me want to rear end the back of a car, which I would never do. When you're going out of Rehoboth on the avenue and the two lanes have to merge to one, and because it becomes a turn only lane,
right?
And then people just fly right past the line and just barge on in. I really don't like that,
right?
And it happens to me every evening, so
every
it's great.
evening. So Jackie has that going home from work angst built in.
Just angry.
So why are incentives? You said it was a downer. Why is it a downer?
Because, well, first we should define incentives. So when you are looking to buy a new home, in this case, you're building a new one, incentives are anything that the builder sort of offers to you as a discount, or maybe money towards something. Those are called incentives. Is that right, or do you want to clarify that?
No, I think that's right. I think it's some kind of financial incentive to purchase a new home.
Right. And so what we're going to talk about today is how incentives are used in this business.
Right.
And you would think, incentives are great. You go into a store and it's 50% off or 25% off, or you buy one, get one, or there's some sort of deal. You feel like you're getting a deal.
Right.
And in the case of new homes, that's not the case.
It's not always a deal, right? So my wife has done some clothes shopping in her day, right? So if you go clothes shopping you're willing to wait till the end of the season.
Right.
Right? So if you're willing to wait for the late summer, early fall for the fall sidewalk sale in Rehoboth Beach, you can get legitimate deals. And what I mean by legitimate deals is if you walk by, there is something out on the sidewalk that was on the rack at full price in July is now discounted.
Right.
So it is the exact same thing at a lower cost, but what you give up in that sense is you give up the time. Meaning, if you wanted to buy that cool
summer
dress, which, I purchase all the time. Yeah. You've missed the summer season, so you have to hope that it is wearable next year.
Right.
But if you wanted the summer dress in July, you had to pay for it at July money. But if you want it in September, it's available at September money. It is the exact same dress.
Right.
It just sat too long, and they are dumping the inventory. Right? So
Correct.
That is a discount. That is not an incentive, although it is an incentive for the person that buys. It says, you know what, I'm going to buy this dress now, even though I can't wear it, because I'll wear it next summer, and I'm so excited.
Because you're getting a deal.
Because you're getting a deal, right?
Right.
So legitimately a couple of weeks ago, you walk into a new home thing, and we're not going to name one of our competitors.
No.
We're not going to name it. And they were saying, look, if you buy, we're going to give you how much money off?
$20,000.
$20,000 off the base price, right?
Yeah.
Hallelujah. Where do I sign?
Right. I was like, wow, that's all right.
But there was a catch.
Right. So his follow-up kind of in that same sentence was, look, we have this off, and, if you don't want a discount, if you don't want a basement, we're all good. And it was kind of like, wait a minute.
Can you that went fast.
Okay.
Slow that. So you can have the $20,000, but there was a qualifier on that.
Right. So he was saying, he kind of packaged it as, hey, I can get you $20,000 off this house if you don't get a basement. But he said it in a way as if he was doing me a favor.
Right.
Kind of like, hey, I can get you in here for this price total. because, that's what we do, and it's such a great deal. And if you don't want a basement, then you have a lower price deal. You have a lower price on a house.
Right.
But what really was said was, hey, if you don't get a basement, then you take away the 20 grand, which is the money you pay for a basement.
Right.
So it's no longer the same item that you're buying.
So it's not the same summer dress.
Right. Yes. This summer dress has been stripped of, I don't know,
right.
a pocket or something.
So basically it's, hey, you can buy this house and it has a standard basement.
Mm-hmm.
But our incentive for the month is $20,000 off if you don't want the basement.
Right. So it's no longer the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's...
But he said it in such a nice way. He really did. I didn't catch it until after. I kind of...
Right. And so this is where this thing, we talked about this podcast being at large, because this really bugs me. And here's why. I've been in this business for a long time. Obviously, I own a home building company that is a competitor to this. And just for the record, we went in straight up and told them who we were.
Yeah.
We were not doing anything deceptive here. We shop our competition. Our competition shops us all the time. It's just kind of knowing what's going on in the market. So we're not playing any games here. But what we are trying to do is people walk in and they are nervous, right? Because it seems like building a house is a complicated, expensive thing.
Yeah.
And people are rightly nervous. And then your lead off with these customers for this builder is basically some kind of, I'm sorry, that's bait and switch. That's not an incentive. That's going, hey, if you'll take features out of the house, it'll be cheaper. Well,
right.
Right. So that brings me to this idea of free.
Mm-hmm.
I love the word. I mean, it's probably one of my favorite words, especially when...
Like chips and queso follow?
Yeah.
Is that too off topic?
No,
Sorry.
no, actually, well, no, it's, yes,
what were
it's
you
off
going
top.
to
I was
say?
going to say food in general.
Oh, well, there you go.
So when you take free and food, you have two words, in my opinion, that go very well together.
We like that. Yeah.
We like that,
Mm-hmm.
and we're not picky
Yep.
when you apply those words to things that I get to eat.
Mm-hmm.
But free is really abused in the sales world. So you're, $20,000 off. You get free this, free that. Hey, nothing's free.
Yeah.
Right? And so there's a lot of different ways that builders can deal with pricing and hide costs to the point where you're not necessarily getting an incentive. And what I don't love is the outcome of the process is if you're going to spend $400,000 or $500,000, $600,000 with a company that you don't trust, that's a stressful process.
Mm-hmm.
And they've already started off and, they're lying to you. I'm sorry that I'll just say it, and maybe you'll edit it out later, maybe you won't. But when you say you can get $20,000 off, but you have to change the features, you're not giving anything. That's not an incentive. That's a lie.
He wasn't. Okay, I see. I see what you're saying. He wasn't lying because he did say what he meant, but he was definitely deceptive.
Right, and if you read the paperwork they gave us, it never mentions what changes if you want the $20,000 off.
That's correct. You'd have to definitely do some more digging, to figure.
And
that out.
I think that is one of the hardest parts about our business is that you have to deal with a builder if you want a house, and so if they're a specific builder in a specific neighborhood, and this is where you want to be, you might be stuck with them. But your first inclination, your first encounter with them, they're already trying to twist things around.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like the sense of trust because we want you to be able to trust your builder because it's ultimately about the product that you get that you're going to live in. It's ultimately about designing a house that's around your life, and you're not going to let your guard down with somebody you don't trust.
Right.
And if you don't let your guard down, then the builder can't help you design the house.
Well, do you think that's why they do that? So there's always a financial aspect of a transaction, then there's the emotional. So they're trying to maybe make it comfortable between you two. Hey, I'm going to do this for you so that you feel good about such a big decision. And then the rapport kind of changes.
I think there's part of it is that I think they're using it to is it what in the sales industry be a closing tool.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because they're going to tell you that's this month's incentive and next month's incentive might change. And that part's true. It might change. The kicker is it might get better, but it might get worse. It just depends on the pace that a builder is trying to maintain in a community or things like that, that the pricing can be pretty dynamic, but it's based more on market conditions than it's based on whether they want to give you a good deal or not. They're not gonna advertise any more incentive than they need, that they feel like they need to close you. Yeah,
Sure.
and they feel like, hey, I'm going to give you something.
When you say pace that they want to maintain in a community, you mean the amount of houses they want to sell at a time?
Right. So if
Okay.
they want to say, hey, we need to sell 2 houses a month in this neighborhood. Okay, so how do we need to position it to sell 2 houses a month? We don't want it to sell 4, but we don't want it to sell 1.
I see. Okay.
And so
Interesting.
everything can change on a month-to-month basis.
Mhm.
But, I mean, ultimately, I don't think those things, it doesn't build trust if I'm going to tell you something that is, hey, you're going to save this, but only if it's like you're going to save $10 if you don't buy something that costs $10.
Right. Okay. I see what you're saying.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's basically what they're saying. Hey, this dress is 50% off. So the summer dress costs $35 now. It was $70, but you can save $35 if you don't buy it. Because they're saying, hey, you can save $20,000 if you don't want the basement. Right?
Yeah.
Well, how much more can I save if I don't want roof shingles?
Right.
Do I get a discount there too? Like, what if I don't want, walls?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the same thing, right? Well, we don't sell houses without roof shingles. Okay, well, that probably makes sense. And we do sell houses I don't want a basement. Okay, well, you can save this money. But, that's not an incentive. Like,
But you're saying pitching it as a deal
Right.
is what frustrates
right,
you.
because ultimately you're not being honest. You're either not being honest about the cost of the basement, the base price of the house, or the incentive.
Okay.
Something there
One of those things
has to give.
Okay.
And so here is a company that is going to say, we want you to spend $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, and we have got this shell game, where you've got that carnival trick where the person hides the coin or whatever under the 3 shells and then starts moving the 3 shells around the table. And so they're taking the money and they're just moving it around. Well, here's the base price. Oh, but you can save $20,000. Can I save $20,000 and get a basement? No.
Yeah.
How much can I save if I want a basement?
Yeah.
0.
Ugh.
Oh, what a great deal, right?
Yeah.
That's insane. And it doesn't help any of us in this business, and it is rampant. Let me tell you, people call us, and one of the first questions we get, hi, what are your incentives? And we are like, hey,
it definitely sets a tone.
we don't have any. And they think, well, what is your deal?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Everybody has
Right. They want a deal.
incentives. They want a deal.
Air
The
quotes.
problem is anyone qualified to find out what a deal is? Is the house a deal without a basement at that price? I think what they're trying to do is the psychology that people want to feel like they need to feel like they're getting a deal. They don't need to get a deal. They just need to feel like they're getting a deal. And there's a huge difference.
Oh, big difference.
It's huge.
Yeah. And one of the things you said earlier, nothing is free. So we had that example of, you can have money off if you pretty much just buy a different product, like the basement example. But then you also mentioned that there are other elements involved in pricing. So when you say nothing is free, say there's a discount, are you saying that they can hide that cost somewhere else?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So they can hide the costs because they know you're going to upgrade. So they can change the prices of the upgrades because builders don't tell you what they charge for upgrades. So you want to add a sunroom. Well, it's generally not on a builder's website what a sunroom costs.
Okay.
It's not on ours. So you have to walk in and find out and ask what it costs.
Uh-huh.
So let's say I'm going to give you a discount. Well, I'm just going to raise the price of the sunroom.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to make my money back right there. I'm going to raise the price of granite. I'm going to raise the price
spread
of
it
this
out
kitchen. Or
through-
just
okay.
and spread it out. And so, hey, you're saving $20,000, but I'm really charging you that $20,000 right back. I'm just putting it in places that you can't possibly see it.
Okay, I understand spreading it out and just placing it on other elements of the house. What about, so, you go shop, we can use a shopping example. Sometimes I go into a store and I see a sweater that is just severely overpriced. They overprice it just to discount it.
Right. And that's another trick. So our regular base price on this house is $449,000, but we're going to sell it to you for $439,000. Only they've never sold it for $400,000, and they're playing on the clothing store where the discount is real because it's inventory. And so here's the critical difference. Typically, a discount on a home that doesn't exist isn't a discount because they haven't built it yet. Now, you might get a discount on an existing, because there are some builders that like to put up lots of houses and just build them, and there they are, and they're for sale. And they'll tell you there's a discount too. Oh, if you walked in and bought this house, it would cost you $470,000. We're going to give it to you for $440,000. Only nobody walks in and pays $470,000 because they only build them on spec, which is a speculative home which doesn't have a buyer when it starts. If you're building a house that is being built specifically for you, it doesn't exist. Inventory in our economy gets discounted because people have too much of something, right? That dress didn't sell. It didn't sell over the summer, and we have to get rid of it. Why? Because there's only so many places, racks we can hang clothes here, and it's fall. We need to put the cold stuff up. We just need to get rid of it.
We need to move inventory.
We need to move it, okay? So we need to move inventory. So you walk into a builder who's going to build you your house, and they're giving you all these discounts on it. It's not inventory. It doesn't exist. So they're not discounting inventory to move it. And that's where you find a true discount. But they're playing on the fact that you're so used to going to that clothing store, or you're so used to going to wherever and buying stuff that's on sale that is excess inventory that a company is literally trying to unload, that you're going to think it's the same thing, right?
Okay.
So it's what I call a straw man discount. And a straw man argument is, you set up a fake person and you turn around and go, and then you have an argument with them. So the straw man price is $449,000, but we're going to sell it to you for $439,000. But we always sell it for $439,000.
Right. We just put it. Okay.
So we created a fake price and a fake discount. You're saving $20,000, Ms. Kovaleski, if you buy today. Why aren't you saving $100,000? Why don't they discount it even more?
Right. Well, so that's very surprising. But are there any? Let me think. Sorry, let me phrase this right. So, would a builder use that honestly if it's maybe it's a buyer's market and they really just need to sell a house? So would that be an honest discount? Do you think?
Then they would
probably. More rare?
I would say in I build houses in a during the real estate crash, they'll negotiate with you on the final sales price. So here's the thing you have to get. Before you even know if that $20,000 discount ends, you're sitting there saying, okay, well, now you've convinced me that incentives are crap and builders are liars. Great. But what you have to do is you have to go through the process with the builder, because you really might want to buy in their neighborhood. You want that spot. You like the house, whatever. You have to go to what your final costs are. That comparing builders based upon incentives or based upon what they charge for any individual item is never going to work for you, because everybody's a little bit different. You have to go in there, you have to sit down, you have to price out the house you want, and you have to figure out how much does it cost, what are my transaction costs to buy it. And then you've got to go to another builder and do the exact same thing, and you're talking about hours in each place. And I'm just being upfront with you, but you're also talking about $500,000, okay? You made more of a time investment to buy a pair of running shoes on Amazon before. Take the time to do it, but get to the final price, because that's what you pay and that's what it costs. And that's how do you sort between a builder like us that doesn't do incentives versus a builder that does a ton of incentives. Well, the funny thing is, when you price out a Statera home, we're not going to give you any incentives. Why? Because no one's giving you any incentive anyway. But our prices come out very, very similar to our competition that's giving you all this free stuff. Well, you might be able to claim you get the free stuff, but at the end of the day, the house you want is $474,000, or the house you want is $490,000, or it's $680,000, or whatever it is. That's what you're going to pay, regardless of whatever they said in their sales material that they're going to throw at you. What you're going to pay is what you're going to pay. Right.
That would be a very interesting exercise to do. So you could go to a builder. Go to a few builders and see what the final price is, and then you could really just see I'm going to just call them feel goods because that's what incentives are. They just want you to
That's
feel
exactly
good.
Right.
So see what the incentives are and what that final price comes out to be. So you might have a builder that offers all these incentives, and you might have one that doesn't. And then it might just be the same price.
It
final
might
price.
be the same price, or it might even be cheaper without the incentives. That's the only way to do it. And then if you want a discount, you take that final sales price and you try to negotiate from there.
Okay.
Because that's what it costs.
So you don't negotiate bit by bit. I
but
mean,
you don't take what they're doing is they're saying, well, I'm going to give you these incentives so you don't have to negotiate with me.
Oh, okay. And if they're false, why negotiate the incentives?
Right, but now you feel like I already got a $20,000 discount. I don't have to play hardball with this builder. And let me tell you right now, in today's market, hardball isn't going to work. Somebody walks in and says, "Oh, I want you to sell me this house at a tremendous discount." That's not a good strategy in today's market. It's because builders are busy. But if you're going to get any kind of a real, honest dollar concession out of somebody, you have to get it off your individual house's final sales price.
I see.
Ignore the incentives. Ignore all the stuff that the builder's rep is going to tell you up front about how much you're going to save and all this other stuff and blah, blah, blah. Forget about it. Take the time, get to the final sales price if you have the house you want, and then ask for the discount. And look, you might hear no, but it's free to ask.
Yeah,
and I mean free, real free. It doesn't cost you anything. And they might say, oh, well, we'd really love to close another house by the end of the month. So we'll give you this if you'll sign today.
Right. You're not going to lose anything.
You're not going to lose anything. The deal can't get any worse. They're not going to sit there and say, oh, well, we already gave you this incentive and now you're asking for a discount, so we're just going to charge you more.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that.
Funny.
So that's when you negotiate, if there's any negotiation to be done.
Okay.
So
yeah,
that's the brutal, honest truth.
Yeah.
So you're going to see money off of base price. They might offer to pay condo fees, HOA fees. They might offer to help you out on some of your transaction costs. So just to give you an example, transaction costs, those are a great one. So Delaware has a 4% real estate transfer tax.
Yes.
It's basically a real estate sales tax, although in Delaware we're very proud about saying we don't have any sales tax.
Sure.
Except on real estate. It's 4%. And so in a traditional used home real estate situation, you're going to split that. You're going to pay 2 if you're the buyer, and the seller is going to pay 2. And in new construction, it is all over the map, meaning some builders split the 2 and 2 as if it were a traditional used home. Some builders make you pay the whole 4, and some builders give you X amount of dollars towards your closing costs, which would come off the transfer tax, if you will.
I'm sorry, that's up to the seller?
That's up to the seller.
Okay.
That's right. So so take there's a builder in the market, they're a big builder, and they don't split the transfer tax. So you pay the whole 4%. Now, another thing most new construction builders do is they're going to have the buyer of the home reimburse them for the sewer fees.
Okay.
Right? So Sussex County sewer fees in most places about $6,400.
Oh, wow.
Today, as of the recording of this. If that's out of date, don't hold us to this if you're listening to this podcast down the road. But on a $400,000 house, you might have the builder, then they're going to say, well, we're going to not split your transfer tax, but we're going to pay your impact fees. And then you come up to Statera, and so it's Statera, we're going to say, well, you're going to pay your impact fees, but we're going to split the transfer tax. And you're going, well, the other builder, well, they're paying my impact fees. Well, are they splitting the transfer tax? No. Well, if you do the quick math on a $400,000 house, splitting the transfer tax saves the buyer $8,000. So they're going to make you pay the $8,000 in transfer tax, which is half of the 4%. But they're going to make you not pay the sewer impact fee. And so at Statera, you're going to pay the sewer impact fee and split the transfer tax. You actually come out ahead by paying the sewer impact fee. That's insane. But they're going to, we're going to do this great thing for you, but then we're going to whack you on the end too. So that's, when I say you need to get your deal done and all the dollars in, the transaction costs, everything, all of that is going to be in that final price. That's what you need to know before you really find out if you're getting a deal or not.
Okay.
So you price out the house, you understand the transaction costs, you understand the transaction costs are going to vary between builders based on who's paying what, and that's okay.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it all gets translated into dollars, bottom line dollars. Here's what your house costs. Here's what the transaction costs are. And that gives you your total cost for the project. And that is the only number that matters. Regardless of what they're giving you up front or what they're discounting or whatever they're telling you, it is how many dollars it's going to take for me to move into this place.
Right.
That's all that matters.
Right. So you just have to compare that end number. I did see an article about some builders offering to pay the first few months, or the first year of HOA fees or something like that, which vary community to community.
Sure.
And that, you know, at the end of the day, could be just minuscule compared to the.
It can be small and
yeah.
And it also can not, you know, what's the base price of the house? Like, they're not paying for anything. You're just paying for it somewhere else. They're not paying for anything. The person that brings the money to the table is paying for everything because it doesn't exist, right? So go back to our clothing store. They paid whatever for the summer dress. And so now they're discounting it to get rid of it. So their profit margin goes down. They might even...
You say the store paid whatever for
the store.
Summer. Yeah,
because they have it in inventory.
Okay.
The builder hasn't paid boo because your house doesn't exist. So they're not going to sell it at a loss. Now that dress, you might find that dress is 70% off and the clothing store is losing money selling that dress because they have to get rid of it. And so it's either sell it for whatever they can get for it or throw it away or send it to Goodwill. I don't know. I lied earlier. I've not bought a lot of summer dresses.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell.
Shocking.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is at some point it makes more sense for them to move that inventory because it's there and its very existence creates a problem for the clothing store. Your house that you are pre-designing with a builder doesn't exist.
Right.
So the builder's not going to sell it and lose money. They already know all their costs. And so if they're factoring in your HOA fees, you're just paying for them somewhere else.
Man.
You have to be able to trust your builder.
Right. Well, you just have to put, and we've said this multiple times, you got to put the time in and just have that conversation.
Right.
Get to the final number. Compare builders.
Get to the final number.
Right.
That's the number that matters, not the numbers up front. Get to the final number. So that's the big deal. So
right. And that's just the financial side of the buy. I mean, we haven't even talked about quality. We haven't talked about designing that, customizing the house. I mean, this is just...
Yeah, we're not talking...
We are just talking about numbers.
Right. This does not mean that you have an apples-to-apples comparison of builders because that's
right.
incredibly hard.
Right. Can't do that just on price. But
it means you're going to know what it costs.
Right. Yes. I think this was helpful.
I hope it was helpful.
Yeah.
I hope people can really get educated and understand. It's hard to watch people being manipulated because a house is a big deal. It's a very expensive asset. It is a very sacred thing because it's where your life goes down. And I want to make sure people are getting the perfect house for their lives. I mean, that's our mission. That's our passion. And so when we see people playing games, you're not just messing with dollars to move a house in a community. Someone's going to live there.
Sure. Yeah.
Someone is going to jump up and down excited. Someone is going to cry brokenhearted. That is somebody's life.
It's a very emotional transaction.
Right. But it's a place where your life goes down. We want that to be the right space.
Correct.
There are few things that are more important than that.
Maybe summer dresses.
Maybe summer dresses.
Depends. I don't know.
Perhaps that could be another podcast.
Yeah.
Jackie's thoughts on summer dresses. Or maybe even better would be my thoughts on summer
Yeah,
dresses.
I think.
Short episode. We want you to get educated. We're so glad that you took some time to listen to this episode. And this is the So You Want to Build a House podcast. I'm Scott Daly.
And I'm Jackie Kovaleski.
Have a great day. So You Want to Build a House is brought to you by Statera Homes. Statera Homes is a craft home builder in southern Delaware. This builder finds value in working with you to build a home that is the perfect fit for your lifestyle. Statera truly sets themselves apart from other builders in the area. To find out more, visit their website, www.staterahomes.com. That's STATERAHOMES.com. Or call their model home at area code 302-329-8881. That's 302-329-8881. Music from this podcast was by the band Defining Parallel from their recent single, Painted Lives. Thank you for listening to So You Want to Build a House. To stay updated on the most recent episodes, subscribe to this podcast on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you found it to begin with, or check out Statera Homes website, which is again www.staterahomes.com. Thank you very much.